Welcome to Gtfo, a four-player survival co-op horror game where literally everything wants you dead. Whether you're new to the game and are having a bit of trouble, or just considering if the game is for you, this guide might be able to help. If you're willing to sit down for a couple of hours at a time on one mission, enjoy a good challenge, and also like strategizing, first-person PvE shooters, cooperating with friends, sometimes being carried or doing the carrying, screaming, being chased, tongued, slapped, punched, shot, and so much more, you will probably enjoy Gtfo. If not, then maybe this game won't be for you. It isn't a game that's for everyone. It's extremely difficult, unforgiving, it's in no way perfect, a little grotesque, and the community sure is something. It's a game you want to think a little bit about before you get into it. However, if you do get into it, you get into it hard. From my experience, this game doesn't capture a lot of people's attention, but when it does, they get stuck here. They really enjoy this game. There's not anyone who's normal about this game. Anyways, time to get right into it. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the rundown system. A rundown is basically just a set of missions all released on the same date. At the time of making this video, Rundown 6 was just recently released about a week ago. This means that there were currently 7 rundowns in the game, adding up to 71 missions total. Each rundown has its own set of unique missions, and some have larger storylines and plots to uncover. Some of these missions also have secondary and overload objectives, which just means there's a little bit more meat to the missions that you don't actually have to do. There is a lot of content to get through with this game, and it gets difficult. The game is due for one final rundown, which will leave the game at 80 plus missions. Unfortunately, it is not likely for the game to get much else after Rundown 8's release. Even so, there is still plenty of content for the price tag. Every mission and every rundown has a main objective. These objectives can range from just clearing out a path to a specific zone, to retrieving an item or multiple items, and starting up reactors. I'm not going to go in depth on every type of mission in the game here, but one day I most certainly will. Even though this may seem really simple, there are a lot of obstacles in your way, from sleeping enemies, an infectious virus that even the masks your characters wear can't keep out, alarmed doors whose sounds attract waves of enemies, and so much more. I would always recommend dropping into the mission without looking into it. This game is best experienced without spoilers. I really enjoy the strategy part of this game, so I love making plans, trying them, failing, tweaking, trying again, and repeating until success. If you get stuck and feel hopeless, though, don't be afraid to look for help. Sometimes it's easy to misunderstand key parts of this game, and it can leave you spinning for a while. Looking into a guide might show you something you missed, and just that small detail can change your strategy entirely. When completing one of these missions you haven't completed before, you will earn an apparel item so you can be fashionable even in the face of certain doom. There's a wide range of helmets, shirts, pants, backpacks, and color palettes of which you will earn a random one on each mission complete, and a set one when completing an entire rundown. Before you drop into a mission, you'll be tasked with choosing a loadout. Your loadout is extremely important in Gtfo. Not only do you need to find the guns and weapons as well as a melee you are comfortable with, but your tool selection needs to vary between each mission depending on the obstacles you'll be facing. Certain missions do better with bigger weapons that take down bigger enemies, such as snipers, shotguns, etc. Others do well with smaller weapons that can take down smaller enemies quickly and have high fire rates, quick reloads, and high ammo caps. Melee weapons usage also varies between missions. The hammer is my favorite and the most balanced of the weapons, able to take out every enemy you come across with enough skill and practice, or almost every enemy. The bat is good for staggering enemies, but can't kill certain enemies in one shot. The knife is extremely fast and good for combat, but is very difficult to use well against certain larger enemies. The spear is slow, but with a long range and high precision damage. Tools are more important than any individual loadout. You only get 4 tools, so choosing which one to use is important and can be difficult. The sentry guns are a very general tool, and you'll usually have one for every mission. There are 4 different kinds: the burst sentry, sniper, shotgun, and hell auto sentry. By the way, you might see the hell prefix on a lot of guns. That just means that particular weapon pierces and can hit multiple enemies with one bullet. The bio tracker is also a very general tool, but not a particularly useful one on certain levels, essential on others. Certain enemies cannot be tracked by sentries without the help of the bio tracker's scanning abilities. It can also be used to see how many enemies are in a room and detect any motion. It doesn't require any tool ammo, which is always a bonus and a blessing on certain levels. My personal favorite tool, and one that, like the sentries, works on almost every single level, is the Mind Deployer. I won't go into all the tips and tricks I have for this tool today, but one day I will for all of the tools. It works best on levels that have a lot of doors or taller enemies than the common ones you will see most of. Placing it on the inside of doors leading to where you are defending for an alarm is a very good way to buy yourself some extra time to get your security scan sequences done. They can take out huge groups of enemies with just one mine. The final tool is the Seafoam launcher, one I consider to be a bit more circumstantial. It works best in conjunction with the mine deployer and can be used on both doors and just the floor and walls. When used on a door, the Seafoam will act as reinforcement. Enemies breaking down the doors will have a harder time getting through. When used on the floor, enemies running through it will be frozen if they suck up enough Seafoam. It takes a certain amount of Seafoam being absorbed for an enemy to freeze, and it varies from type of enemy. I don't consider this strategy as useful mostly because some enemies can soak up all of your Seafoam and not even get stuck. Seafoam on the floor doesn't last forever either, while it will not go away from the doors on its own. As somebody who plays with bots quite often, I also have my share of bad memories and run-ins with the Seafoam launcher, so I try to avoid running it when I don't have my friends to play with. Doors also have this very lovely glitch where Seafoam can go right through them, and it's really unfortunate on very long alarm doors. It also uses quite a bit of tool ammo. If you can't get through a level, be sure to try out new tool combinations and loadouts, and keep an open mind. Form your own opinions on every weapon and tool, and find which ones you're the most comfortable using, especially in high-stress situations. In every mission, you'll find terminals or computers you can use for a lot of different things in the complex. Get familiar with these things quickly. Some mission objectives are centered around the things, and they're just extremely useful in general. There are a lot of different ways to use them, but the most important commands include query, ping, and list. Using the query command, you can find which zone an item or resource is located and how many uses a resource pack has. If you're in the same zone as an item identifiable on a terminal, you can use the ping command. Not only does this make a noise that doesn't wake sleepers, but it also creates a small, temporary beacon on your HUD and compass, identifying where the object is located. The terminal will also tell you exactly which area of the zone the item is in. The list command is good when you need to find all of the resources in a zone or all of the types of a specific item. To find the resources in a zone, you would type in list res zone underscore and then the number of the zone. This will provide you with a list of resource packs you can ping. Taking the res out of the command will provide you with a list of security doors, boxes, lockers, packs, and objective items you can find in that zone. Finally, it's time to talk about the main obstacle you'll face down in the complex, the sleepers. These half-rotted, parasitized puppets want you dead. Whether it's to eat you or to make you one of them, I don't think we know for sure. Most of these enemies will be found sleeping, and don't take kindly to 4 men coming to turn their naps into comas with blunt force trauma and sometimes sharp objects. Almost every enemy in this game can be taken out silently, but some take a bit more coordination than others, but it's possible and easy with enough practice. And, believe me, you will get a lot of practice. Hitting the enemies in the back of the head, no matter the melee weapon, will kill them. There are larger enemies known as giants, or even just big guys. These will take more hits than other enemies, even if you hit the back of their heads. I'll be making a guide with a lot of tips and tricks for clearing out large rooms of enemies, taking out big guys, and detailing all of the types of enemies, their weaknesses, and strategies for killing them, as well as weapons well suited to do so. With that concludes my very basic beginner's guide to Gtfo. I'll be making more videos that are more specific and far less general in the future, as well as level guides, so I can show off my strategies for beating some levels in the hopes of helping others beat them. Good luck, now get the fuck out.